Hello to you guys and welcome back to this channel. Most, if not all of you guys are already aware of the news that broke close to 2 weeks ago. The news that concerns the introduction of a $1 fee for those who will enter the upcoming diversity visa lottery. Now, I have this dedicated follower who contacted me and said, but Rodney, since this news broke, we have not heard anything from you because we have been hearing all sorts of information concerning the $1 fee. And so we have been expecting you to come and clarify things. And the reason why, since the publication of that notice, I have not spoken was because I was very occupied publishing my diversity visa lottery guide. It was just around the time, I think it was the same day that I published the guide, that the news actually broke. And so I had to go through the notice and review my entire diversity visa lottery guide so that it could be conformed to the update concerning the $1 registration fee. And so that is why I have been doing, and I just completed the review of my diversity visa guide. I'm going to speak about the guide before I get to the end of this video, but that is why so far I have not commented on the $1 fee that has been introduced in the diversity visa lottery process. And so for those of you who have been asking, especially the dedicated follower that I spoke about, I told him that I'm going to make a video, and then once I make that video, I'm going to send you the link so that you can understand what this is all about. And so this is the video. And so what you guys should know concerning the $1 fee is that from the upcoming diversity visa lottery, that is the DV 2027 lottery, which is taking place or which will begin in October 2025, those who are registering or those who are participating in that lottery will need to pay a $1 fee. All right. Now, how is that going to happen? What is expected to happen is that a payment system is expected to be introduced or integrated into the diversity visa lottery form. In other words, you know that there are different items or questions in the diversity visa lottery form. For example, your name is asked for, your date of birth, your place of birth, etc. There is also a question that has to do with the photo, where you have to click on a button and then you will be led to the part of your device that your photo has been saved. You upload the photo to the form before continuing the form. So there will be an item or a question that will have to do with the $1 fee payment. You will have to click a button and you will be taken to a payment page where you will pay the $1, and then after payment of the $1, you will return to complete the form, and it is at that point that you will be allowed to submit your form. Without payment of the $1 fee by means of the form, you will not be able to submit your diversity visa lottery form. That is what you can expect in the upcoming diversity visa lottery form, the entry form. So the entry form will not be exactly as we have been seeing it or have been knowing it over the past years. Is actually going to have some modification, and the modification that I'm speaking about is the introduction of this payment system where you will have to pay your $1 fee. So that is what you guys, especially those of you who are not into the business of the diversity visa lottery, those who do not commercialize the diversity visa lottery, should know concerning the upcoming diversity visa lottery. Now, for those of you, including myself, who enter folks into the diversity visa lottery and are paid for doing so, in a moment, I'm going to come back to you guys because there is a very important point that you guys have to be aware of for the coming diversity visa lottery. Now, the next thing I also want to touch on is, when is this expected to happen? In other words, when do we expect the diversity visa lottery to begin? Now, I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago, I made a video in which I explained to you guys how the dates for the beginning of the diversity visa lottery actually come about. All right, but this year could be different. The tentative date of this year's diversity visa lottery should have been the coming Wednesday, October 1st, 2025. That was what was projected before this $1 registration fee was announced. Now, in the notice that was published, it was said that the $1 fee will take effect 30 days after the publication of that announcement. The announcement was published on the 16th of September. 30 days later is the 16th of October. And so we expect the diversity visa lottery to kick off on the 16th of October because of that reason, but because of another reason. And the second reason why the lottery is likely to begin on October 16th or perhaps the 17th of October is because in the law that governs the diversity visa program, the State Department is supposed to publish the instructions of the upcoming lottery several days, if not a few weeks to the beginning of the diversity visa lottery, to give the public sufficient time to know the details concerning the upcoming diversity visa lottery. Now, in recent years, the publication of that document, the instructions, has been done or was done during the week that just ended. So we can say that in case the lottery was supposed to begin on this Wednesday, the coming Wednesday, then by last Friday, 2 days ago, the instructions should have been published. But as I speak, the instruction has not yet been published. And so I personally expect the instructions to be published in the course of the new week that is beginning tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, up to Friday. That is when I expect the diversity visa program, that is DV 2027 instructions, to be published. And if it is published in the course of this week, then it is later on that we can expect the diversity visa lottery to begin. And so this somehow joins the October 16th date for the beginning of the diversity visa lottery this year. However, it is not impossible for something else to happen. We have seen that numerous times, where we know that things should happen in this way, but the State Department comes up with something different that sometimes contravenes with what is established. But we work with it, we accept it, and we work with it. And so in case we see the publication of the instructions tomorrow, Monday or Tuesday, for example, and they tell us that the lottery is going to begin later in the week, well, that's their decision, and we're going to work along with it. But from the two reasons that I just presented to you, I personally expect the lottery to begin either on the 16th or the 17th of October. I hope that is clear for you guys as well. Now, the next thing that I want to bring to your attention, and this concerns especially those of you guys who do business with the diversity visa lottery. It has to do with the reasons. The State Department actually presented two reasons why this $1 fee has been introduced in the diversity visa lottery. The first of those reasons is the thing that it is fair enough for all of those who submit entries to underwrite the cost of the running of the diversity visa lottery. In other words, before now, only those who were selected and who continue the process actually pay their diversity visa application fee of $330 United States dollars. But they are saying that from now on, all those who submit entry to the diversity visa lottery should contribute to the running of the program by paying the $1 fee. That's the first and major reason that has been presented. Now, the second reason concerns eradication or reduction in fraud and scams. Now, this is where this issue of $1 concerns those of you, or I would say those of us, who entered people into the diversity visa lottery for a fee. Now, it is unfortunate that on some channels, people present those who take some fee for submitting entries on applicants' behalf as scammers. The fact is that people who do that actually do not know reality outside of their surrounding, unfortunately, because in most countries, especially developing countries, people are not in the position to enter themselves in the diversity visa lottery. They go to cafes, they go to other similar places, and they pay. There is nothing fraudulent about that. I'm not saying that there are not those who exploit people. I'm not saying that there are those who exploit people, but the majority of those who submit entries on behalf of people for payment of a fee are not fraudsters, they are not scammers. I have been doing that for the last 11 or 12 years. Yes, this entry period is going to be my 12th entry period. And am I a scammer? No, I'm not a scammer. Am I a fraudster? No, I'm not a fraudster. So the second reason that has been presented is that this is going to reduce scam or fraud in the diversity visa lottery. Now the question is, how do they intend to do that? And what comes to my mind is that they could, all right, for example, introduce some restriction on the payment method. All right, they could say, for example, that the payment method that is allowed to be used a certain number of times. They could do that. And in that instance, those of us who submit entries on behalf of applicants, we will be affected by that regulation. Now, we will not only be the ones affected, the fact is that most of the entries that are submitted from developing countries are submitted from businesses, cafes, internet cafes, photo studios, etc. And so, yes, you may be affected if such a regulation is introduced in a diversity visa program, diversity visa lottery, but it's also going to affect the overall number of entries submitted. Now, another thing that will affect the overall number of entries submitted is the payment system or payment means or modality that is acceptable. All right, we expect well-known cards, that is credit cards and debit cards, to be used to pay for your diversity visa entry. Now, there are so many persons who may not have access or who may not have cards. So such people may not be in the position to enter the upcoming lottery. That's going to prevent people from entering the lottery and is actually going to reduce the number of entries that will end up being submitted to the upcoming diversity visa lottery. And as I said earlier, worst is in case there is some restriction placed on the payment means. But all of that, we have to wait for the publication of the Diversity Visa Lottery Instructions, that is the DV 2027 program instructions, because in those instructions, we expect to see explanation regarding the $1 payment. We expect to see all details explained in that document, in those instructions. So I can say that the instructions, the upcoming instructions for the DV 2027 program actually hold the answers to a lot of things concerning or surrounding the payment of the $1 fee. And I think I said that earlier, I expect the instructions to be published sometime this week. Once those instructions are published, I will return and comment on its content. Now, before I end, another thing that I would like to touch on is for those of you who have been following the DV 2026 program since the results were released in the month of May. What has been happening over the years is that either in the month of July or August, the statistics concerning the program are released. But for the first time in many years, those statistics were not released in the month of July, they were not released in the month of August, they were not released in the month of September. And as I speak, they have not yet been released. So another thing that could come into play is the inclusion of the newly banned countries in the instructions. That is something that may appear in the upcoming instructions, because the question is, why have the statistics not been published since the month of July or August? So I won't be surprised if the instructions are published and in there, in addition to the regular non-eligible countries, we see those countries that have been banned, that were banned recently, a few months ago, included in those instructions. So the DV 2027 instructions are not going to be the usual instructions that we know. They will have interesting details. So we are waiting for the publication of those instructions so that we can comment on its content, as I said earlier. And then finally, I spoke about my Diversity Visa Lottery Guide. You may be watching this video and you need some orientation when it comes to the upcoming Diversity Visa Lottery. I have a guide on my Diversity Visa products and services platform for a reasonable price. So I'm going to leave the link to my platform just below this video. Click on that link, go to the platform and try to get a copy of my guide. Now, two interesting things concerning the guide is that for those that will be buying the guide, firstly, I will be available to answer all of your questions concerning the Diversity Visa Lottery, the lottery, and not those who were already selected. It is limited to the Diversity Visa Lottery. And secondly, between now and next year, all right, next year is when I expect to publish the next version, or the next edition, really, the next edition of my guide. Any update that occurs in the Diversity Visa Lottery that you need to be informed about, I'm going to inform you as appropriate. So this is an investment worth making in case you are interested in entering the Diversity Visa Lottery. All right, so that is about it. Let's look forward to what happens in the course of this week, because that could hold the answers to all of the questions that are yet unanswered. All right, that brings us to the end of this video. Thanks for watching it. See you guys very soon in the next one. Until then, goodbye.